Warrior explains she's burned out, overworked, and tired of being lethal. Uses phrases like, I can't keep performing like this. Everyone expects too much from me. Aliens interpret this as scandalous weakness or secret submission. Human responds with very human concepts. Midlife crisis. Career fatigue. Burnout. Warrior is baffled. Her species does not believe identity can change. She admits she envies humans because they quit without dying. Adult comedy arises from therapy-style language sounding inappropriate to alien ears. The ridiculous request becomes clearer. She wants paperwork, not conquest. Section ends with her asking, almost ashamed, if humans really allow people to stop. HFY angle. Humans normalize quitting, resting, and starting over. The story opens with the human narrator describing the galaxy's fear of the Vulpine warrior, massacres, legends, exaggerated rumors. Door knock at an absurdly normal human residence, apartment, rented unit, quiet colony block. The warrior stands there fully armored, intimidating, clearly exhausted. She states she wants to be reassigned. Double meaning lands immediately. Reassigned sounds like surrender, submission, or dominance reversal. Human narrator misreads the request but stays calm. HFY trait. Humans stay casual in terrifying situations. Warrior becomes embarrassed, irritated, defensive, showing cracks in her fearsome image. Alien neighbors observe, panic, and begin gossiping. Section ends with the human inviting her inside, treating the galaxy's most feared warrior like a stressed coworker. Comedy tools used. Exaggerated alien fear. Mundane human calm. Suggestive phrasing with innocent intent. Human explains reassignment systems, desk jobs, retraining, career pivots. Warrior reacts with disbelief. Her culture assigns one role for life. Adult comedy peaks as desk job is misunderstood as humiliation or dominance loss. Warrior imagines being laughed at by enemies more than feared. Human reframes. Fear isn't identity. Strength doesn't require constant violence. Warrior admits she doesn't hate fighting, she hates never stopping. Emotional realism grounds the comedy. Human offers help navigating human bureaucracy. Warrior reacts with horror. Paperwork is more frightening than battle. Everyone in the sector knew her name, even the ones who pretended not to say it out loud. The Vulpine warrior had a reputation that traveled faster than official reports and stuck longer than scorch marks. Entire crews surrendered when they realized she was in system. Others fled preemptively, convinced survival meant distance. Stories exaggerated her size, her temper, her appetite for destruction. None of them mentioned the exhaustion. Legends never did. So when someone knocked on my door, hard enough to rattle the cheap human hinges, my first thought wasn't terror. It was irritation. Humans knock like they mean it. Whatever waits on the other side is always convinced it's urgent. I opened the door and immediately understood why my neighbors stopped breathing. She filled the frame without trying. Tall, armored, ears angled forward in a way that suggested alertness rather than aggression. Her eyes were sharp but dull at the same time, like blades that had been sharpened too many times without rest. She stood there, perfectly still, carrying enough history to make entire fleets nervous. I need to be reassigned, she said. No threat. No demand. Just a statement delivered with the weight of someone used to being obeyed. The word reassigned landed wrong. It landed heavy. The way she said it, low and controlled, made it sound like a private arrangement. A quiet transfer of authority. The kind of thing that happened behind closed doors and never made it into official logs. I leaned against the doorframe instead of stepping back. Humans did that sometimes when their instincts short-circuited. You're at the wrong office, I said. I don't command anything. Her ears flicked, sharp and irritated. You are human. That's true. You change roles. You abandon positions. You start over. She paused, jaw tightening. I want that. The neighbors were definitely listening now. I could feel it. The silence in the hallway had gone tense, elastic. Somewhere down the corridor, someone dropped something metal and did not go to retrieve it. You want to transfer? I said slowly. She exhaled through her nose, a sound halfway between restraint and frustration. Do not trivialize it. I'm not, I said. I just need to know what you mean. Her gaze flicked past me, into the apartment, then back again. There was something uncomfortable about the way she assessed the space. Not hunger. Not conquest. Calculation mixed with embarrassment. I can no longer continue in my current function, she said. The expectations are excessive. That was not what I expected the galaxy's most feared warrior to say. Excessive was a word humans used about meetings, not massacres. And you came here, I said, because humans allow reassignment without ritual failure, she replied. Without execution. Without disgrace. The phrasing sent my mind briefly, unhelpfully, sideways. The way she spoke made it sound like she was asking for permission to stop performing. Like she was confessing something private and waiting to see if I would take advantage of it. I stepped aside and gestured her in. Come in. You're blocking the hallway. That apparently broke something. She hesitated. The hesitation was subtle, but it was there. The woman who had stood unflinching under orbital fire stalled at the threshold of a human apartment. Inside, she stood awkwardly, armor humming faintly, tail stiff. The place smelled like coffee and recycled air. Nothing ceremonial. Nothing worthy of legend. You can sit, I said. She didn't. Instead, she squared her shoulders. If I am reassigned, she said carefully, it must be absolute. No return. No half measures. Reassigned to what? I asked. Her jaw tightened. Something smaller. That word did things to the air. Smaller. Less. Reduced. In Vulpine culture, reduction meant loss. Among humans, it often meant relief. You're burned out, I said. She stared at me as if I'd insulted her lineage. I am undefeated. I didn't say you weren't good at it. Silence stretched. Her ears lowered just a fraction. I am expected to be lethal at all times, she said. I am expected to want it. There it was. Not weakness. Mismatch. You're tired, I said. Her lips pressed thin. Paperwork broke her faster than war ever had. She stood rigidly beside the table while I pulled up the human interstellar labor interface, watching every motion like I might suddenly attack her with a stapler. Her armor stayed on, which made the tiny apartment feel even smaller. Every time she shifted, something metallic clicked, and she winced as if the sound itself accused her of weakness. This is not reassignment, she said. This is surrender. Only if you think filling out forms is losing, I replied. Humans think it's foreplay. She stared at me. I didn't explain. Letting her imagination do the work was half the comedy of first contact. The first form asked for basic identification. She hesitated at current role. Put whatever they call you officially, I said. She typed slowly, claws clicking with exaggerated care. Galactic Apex Suppression Operative, First Claw of the 9th Expansion Fleet. The title scrolled on far longer than the text box wanted to allow. And desired position? I asked. She froze. This was the part she hadn't rehearsed. Asking to stop killing was one thing. Admitting she didn't know what came after was something else entirely. I do not know, she said finally. Something quiet. The words sounded obscene coming from her mouth. Quiet. As if she were confessing a forbidden kink. I nodded. That's normal. For humans, she snapped. For anyone who's been doing the same thing too long, I corrected. You ever wake up and feel dread before the alarms even go off? She went very still. Yes. Congratulations, I said. You're one of us. Her ears twitched, uncertain whether that was an insult or an invitation. As we moved through the process, the double meanings piled up without effort. Every question sounded like something else entirely to her ears. How long have you been in this role? Do you experience stress responses? Have you considered transitioning before? Do you feel supported in your current position? Each time, her breathing tightened, tail flicking, posture shifting as if she were bracing for judgment or ridicule. To her culture, these were not neutral questions. They were intimate. Dangerous. The kind of admissions that could get a warrior quietly removed before anyone noticed. To humans, it was Tuesday. I am expected to dominate every environment, she said at one point, frustration bleeding through the control. There is no allowance for softness. You'd be surprised how dominant quitting can be, I said. She gave me a sharp look. Explain. Walking away from what everyone expects, I said. Choosing yourself? That scares people more than aggression. She absorbed that in silence. Somewhere deep in her chest, something shifted, heavy and unfamiliar. Halfway through, the system prompted for optional counseling support. She recoiled from the screen. I do not require emotional maintenance. Everyone does, I said. Even weapons. I am not a weapon. She snapped automatically, then stopped. The silence that followed was thick. The idea had slipped out before she could block it. Her jaw clenched, and for a moment she looked genuinely lost. You don't have to be, I said gently. That did it. Her shoulders sagged just a fraction, like gravity had suddenly increased. Humans are dangerous, she muttered. You dismantle identities with casual language. We dismantle ourselves all the time, I replied. Yours just happens to be louder. She exhaled slowly, ears flattening not in aggression but in fatigue. If my people knew I was here, she said, they would assume I was being handled. The way she said it made it sound scandalous. Like she'd been caught in a compromising situation with a species known for inappropriate optimism. You are being handled, I said. With care. Her eyes narrowed. You enjoy saying things that sound wrong. I enjoy saying things that reveal assumptions. That earned me a reluctant huff. Not quite laughter, but close enough to count as progress. The final confirmation screen appeared. Reassignment request submitted. Estimated processing time, 3 to 5 standard cycles. Temporary status, non-combatant. She stared at the word non-combatant like it was an insult, and a relief rolled into one. What happens now? She asked. No, I said. You wait. You rest. You figure out who you are when no one's afraid of you. Her tail lashed once. They will always be afraid. Maybe, I said. But you don't have to live for it. She straightened, armor whirring softly. If this fails, she said, voice hardening, I will be forced to return. I know. If I am rejected, she continued, my position will be terminated. Still no. And yet, she said slowly, you did not hesitate. I shrugged. Humans are weird that way. We see burnout and think it's a problem to solve, not a weakness to punish. She studied me, eyes sharp again but different now. Not predatory. Evaluative. As if reassessing the entire species. You terrify us, she said. I smiled. Good. She turned toward the door, then paused. If this reassignment is approved, she said, carefully neutral, I will require guidance. On what? Her ears angled back, just slightly. On being less. I considered that. We prefer to call it being more human. She nodded once, decisive. Then I will return. As she stepped out into the hallway, the neighbors pretended very hard not to exist. Doors closed softly. Breathing resumed. At the threshold, she stopped again. You never asked? She said. What ridiculous thing I wanted. I leaned against the frame. Didn't need to. Her lips curved, just barely. Not a smile. Not yet. I wanted permission, she said. To stop. Then the most feared Vulpine warrior in the galaxy walked away, leaving behind the faint smell of ozone, armor lubricant, and something far more unsettling to the rest of the universe than violence. Hope. 3 cycles later, she came back without armor. That alone would have caused a panic alert if anyone had noticed. The galaxy's most feared Vulpine warrior standing in a human hallway wearing civilian fabric, ears uncovered, tail loose and expressive, claws filed down to a socially acceptable length. She looked taller without the plating, somehow more exposed, and far more dangerous in a way no military brief could quantify. "You look different," I said. "I am between functions," she replied stiffly. "The system insists I adopt a transitional presentation. Humans call that business casual." Her ears flicked in irritation. "It is humiliating." "Good sign," I said. "Means it's working." She followed me inside with none of the previous hesitation, eyes already scanning the room like it had become familiar territory. That bothered her. I could tell. Warriors were not meant to feel comfortable anywhere that wasn't a battlefield. "I have been idle," she said, clearly disgusted with the word. "I do not wake to alarms. No one issues directives. My body anticipates violence that does not arrive. Welcome to retirement anxiety," I said. "Have a seat." She sat this time, carefully, like the furniture might judge her. Her tail curled around one leg, a self-soothing habit she probably pretended not to have. "The reassignment is under review," she said. "They are confused." "Of course they are," I replied. "You broke their favorite toy." She bristled, then paused. "Yes," she said slowly. "That is accurate." The silence stretched, not tense but awkward. The kind humans filled with jokes and aliens endured like dental work. "I attempted rest," she said finally. "It was ineffective." "Did you try doing nothing?" I asked. "Or did you try doing nothing correctly?" She frowned. "Explain." "Humans don't just stop," I said. "We replace. You don't take a weapon away from someone without giving them something else to hold." Her gaze dropped to her hands. Large. Steady. Empty. "I do not know what to hold," she admitted. That was the real problem. Not exhaustion. Not reassignment. Identity withdrawal. When violence stopped being the answer, she didn't know what the question was anymore. "So," I said, "what do you think you want?" She stiffened. "That question is inappropriate. Welcome to humanity." Her tail flicked sharply. "I am serious." "So am I." She hesitated, ears angling back, then forward again. "I want to be useful," she said. "Without being feared." "That's 2 wants," I said. "Good start." She scowled. "You enjoy this." "I enjoy watching legends struggle with the same nonsense everyone else does." Her eyes narrowed. "If you tell anyone." "I won't," I said. "Humans don't care enough." That earned a confused huff. "That is comforting and insulting." "Multitasking," I said proudly. She shifted in her seat. "I have been approached," she said carefully. "Oh? Other species?" she continued. "They have heard I am changing." The word came out tense, loaded. Change was a threat in warrior cultures. Infection. Weakness. Contagion. "And?" I prompted. "They asked if I was satisfied," she said, jaw tightening. "If the human had fulfilled my request." I raised an eyebrow. "And did you tell them?" Her ears flattened in embarrassment. "I said the process was ongoing." That sentence alone probably fueled an entire sector's rumor mill. The double meaning wrote itself. The idea that the galaxy's most feared warrior had submitted herself to a human process, something intimate and irreversible, was scandalous enough to make admirals choke on their reports. "They assume you have authority over me now," she added. "Do you?" I asked. She paused. The pause mattered. "No," she said finally. "But I listen." That was worse. "I am accustomed to command," she continued. "Obedience. Hierarchy. Clear roles." She met my eyes. "Humans blur these lines deliberately. Power works better when it's optional," I said. That is heresy. Still true. She leaned back, tail swaying. I have also been contacted by a human institution, she said. Your father's program. Ah. There it was. And? I asked casually. They wish to evaluate me, she said. For emotional rehabilitation. The phrase tasted bitter to her. Emotional anything did. They claim my symptoms are consistent with prolonged identity suppression. Sounds like him, I said. Her ears twitched. You are unsurprised. He's made a career out of fixing things warriors pretend aren't broken. She stared at me. That is why the girl said what she said. Yes. She did not mean. She stopped herself, jaw clenching. No, I said gently. She meant healing. The relief on her face was immediate and profound, followed almost instantly by indignation. Your species uses dangerous phrasing. We like efficiency, I replied. One sentence, multiple reactions. She snorted. Actually snorted. Then froze, clearly horrified by the sound she just made. Was that laughter? She asked. Congratulations, I said. Side effect of letting go. She looked down, ears warming in color. If I attend this program, she said, I will be exposed. Emotionally, I said. Not naked. She relaxed half a degree. That distinction matters. Noted. Her gaze sharpened again. If I change, she said, I may not be what my people expect. You already aren't, I replied. You knocked on my door. That landed. She exhaled slowly. I am afraid, she admitted. Good, I said. Means you're doing something new. She studied her hands again. If I am reassigned fully, she said, I may be offered alternative roles. Desk jobs, I said. Her lip curled. Advisory positions. Training. Strategy. Thinking instead of killing, I said. Scandalous. They will say I am wasted potential. Humans say that about anyone who doesn't destroy themselves for productivity. She tilted her head. You are very comfortable with contradiction. We invented it. The communicator on her wrist chimed softly. She glanced at it, ears flicking. The review board has responded, she said. And? They request a demonstration, she said flatly. Of my adaptability. I sighed. Let me guess. They want you to prove you're still lethal. Yes. And you don't want to. No. Silence. Then she looked at me, something new in her expression. Not authority. Not fear. Trust. What do humans do? She asked. When forced to prove they are something they no longer wish to be? We redefine the test, I said. Her eyes widened slightly. That is allowed? We do it all the time, I replied. It drives everyone else insane. A slow, dangerous smile curved her lips. Then, she said, standing, posture suddenly lighter, I will require your assistance. With? With demonstrating, she said, voice smooth, deliberate, that I am still formidable, without violence. The implication rippled outward. Political. Cultural. Deeply inappropriate by every military standard in the galaxy. I grinned. Oh, I said. They're going to hate that. For the first time since she knocked on my door, the Vulpine warrior looked excited. Accepted, she said. The chamber buzzed with barely contained outrage. A legend had just stepped down voluntarily. That alone would destabilize doctrine across 3 sectors. As she turned to leave, the chair command added, You understand this changes how you are perceived. She paused, then glanced back. Yes, she said. That is the point. Later, much later, she returned to the same human door. This time she didn't knock like a threat. Just a measured, human knock. 3 soft taps. You're approved, she said when I opened the door. I smiled. Desk job? Strategic advisory, she corrected. With mandated emotional oversight. Sounds scandalous, I said. Her ears warmed. Your species is responsible for this humiliation. Growth, I corrected. She stepped inside without hesitation. Comfortable now. Dangerous in a new way. They believe I submitted, she said. That I was handled. And? I asked. And I let them, she replied. Let them misunderstand. She removed a small data chip and placed it on the table. Your father's program begins tomorrow. Ready? I asked. She hesitated. Then nodded. I am afraid. Still a good sign. She exhaled slowly, tension easing from muscles that had never been allowed to relax. They asked me, she said, what ridiculous thing I wanted. And? I prompted. She looked at me, eyes steady, no longer dulled by obligation. I wanted permission to change, she said. Humans give that too easily. We charge for it, I said. In paperwork. A pause. Then she laughed. Fully this time. Unrestrained. The sound was rough and startled and absolutely worth every broken expectation in the galaxy. I was feared, she said, wiping at her eyes with clear irritation. Now I am reassigned. To what? I asked. She considered, tail swaying thoughtfully. To myself, she said. Somewhere far away, entire fleets recalculated what it meant to be formidable. And that was the most dangerous thing humans had ever taught anyone.